Hello, and welcome back to Whispers from the Dark. I've got a story to tell you about a dream. This is a dream that pretty much turned into a curse because it lasted probably at least 40 years. On average, I would have this dream every 5 or 6 years. And the dream would leave me in my waking hours. When I'd wake up from it, it would leave me feeling upset, embarrassed, ashamed, unworthy. And it's really strange how a dream, once you wake up from a dream, you can still have those feelings from the dream, whatever they are, in your waking hours. Even though you're awake from the dream, you can't shake it for several hours. Well, I dealt with this about every 5 or 6 years since the 1980s. And this is the kind of dream you can't really tell people about because they won't get it. They won't understand it because you don't really understand it. You can't expect them to. And you just kind of got to deal with it. Push through it. And hope that you don't have it again for a while, or if ever again. And what made me remember this and think about this recently was I was over on the Dixie Cryptid channel listening to Cam, and he tells stories about Bigfoot and such. He also has another channel called What If It's True? And he tells all kinds of cryptid stories over there. And these are stories people have submitted to him. But, his specialty is Bigfoot. And he's got a fascinating channel, so I highly suggest you guys go over there and check it out. Tell him Whispers from the Dark sent you. But he was telling about one of his dreams, or a dream he had as a child several times, and then also as an adult a couple of times. And most recent was the dream. And I started thinking, that reminds me of my dream. And I started thinking, I haven't had it in several years. And I started wondering why. I mean, I'm glad. Don't get me wrong. Geez, like I said, it turned into a curse and not a dream. But I started thinking and analyzing, why would I not have it now? Why did I have it for 40 years and not now? And I think I figured it out. I think I broke the curse. That's what's so cool about it. I think I actually broke the curse. Okay, now a little background on the story so you'll get it. I graduated from high school in 1980, and I've had that dream literally off and on ever since high school. And back in the 9th and 10th grade, I played in the band. I was in the marching band. Started out on cornet, hated it. Went to trumpet, trumpet, same thing basically. Hated it. I couldn't get the thing right with my lip. It kept going numb. I hated it. But I loved to beat on things, so they put me on percussion, and that was my thing. I loved it. Plus, I kind of had a crush on the first chair on percussion. A guy named Kenny. He was cool. He was such a nice guy. Kind of cute, too. And boy, could he play drums. Oh, my God. He was amazing to watch. And you could see, I think he was the first one I ever saw of anybody get in the zone. Because he'd get in the zone in his head when he would play. And it was like he was possessed. And it would just take over. And it was amazing to watch. It truly was. He had a younger sister that was in my class. So occasionally I would go spend the night with her. And whenever I would, of course, Kenny would be there. And he had a drum set at home. And so he would give me pointers on how to play certain things. Well, I didn't have a drum set. All I had is a snare drum on a stand and a practice pad and sticks at home. So I was kind of limited on what I could do. But I really enjoyed watching him and hearing the pointers he'd give me. Well, I hope to be able to play the next year, my junior year, and maybe get a job and get a set. But it didn't happen. Instead, we transferred schools back to our hometown. They didn't have a band, so I didn't get to play. But my dream of having my own drums, my own black Ludwig drums, the Black Beauties, always stuck with me. It's kind of like one of those things that was always a dream, but I felt like it was so far out of reach that it was a pipe dream. And then I thought, why would I get it? Because I'm not in the band anymore. And then as an adult, it was like, I'm too old to be in a band, so why get them? Plus, that would be a whole paycheck, if not two. So, they were always in the back of my mind and in my heart, what I wanted, but probably would never accomplish. So that's a little background on me. But this dream that I would have, ever since high school, about every 5 or 6 years I'd have it. And I would dream that I was out somewhere with friends. And I had been talking about how I played drums in high school. And wherever we were, there was a band playing. It was a rock and roll band. And for some reason, they needed a drummer. Right then. Like right now, on stage. And they walked up and said, I heard you play drums in high school. And I said, well, yeah, but that's a long time ago. And they handed me the sticks. And they said, we need you now. And I just froze. I felt so stupid. I felt like just inadequate. I felt unworthy. I was just in shock and stood there. I couldn't speak. I couldn't talk. I couldn't walk. I couldn't go and sit on the stool and try. I couldn't do a thing. I couldn't move. I was just petrified. And everyone was looking at me. And then I would wake up from this dream in a cold sweat, usually, feeling really bad about myself. Here I am starting a day after a bad dream like that, I would start a day off feeling embarrassed, unworthy, ashamed, and that feeling would usually stay with me for several hours. And after I realized this was like a reoccurring thing, then I would get mad at myself for getting that upset over a stupid dream. So that just made me more upset. But, I had to work and take care of family and carry on like a normal person would and try to block that out of my head. But meanwhile, I got this curse that keeps reoccurring. And I don't know why, but it did. It was a regular thing. Same dream. It's like Groundhog Day. Seriously. It was like you start the dream off, you're at the bar somewhere, there's a band, there's people, they're on a break, there's people mulling around talking, you're talking to your friends, someone comes up and says, "Hey, heard you used to play drums," and just matter-of-factly, I say, "Yeah, I played in marching band in high school." They handed me the sticks and said, "You're on, we need you." And I froze. And I would literally wake up from that dream every time for 40 years. Give or take a couple of years, seriously, for that long. I would wake up in a cold sweat, feeling bad about myself, and wondering why in the hell I keep having this dream and why it's upsetting me. And then I'd, kick myself beat myself up basically mentally for feeling that way about a stupid dream. I mean, that was insane. So when Cam was talking about his dream, I was like, yeah, I got a story to tell. And I started thinking about how, thank God, I haven't had that dream in probably 10 years. Or close. And I was sitting here wondering why. I mean, I'm glad, don't get me wrong, but why is the dream stopped? Or curse, whatever. Why is it stopped? What have I done different? And I started thinking, oh my God, I broke the curse. And I think how I broke it is this. Okay, I work night shift. Most of you know, if you've heard my stories, I've explained I work nights. And I'm off on weekends. And usually, I don't go out, go see friends or do much. I stay home with my animals. But this one particular Saturday, I guess I came home from work and went to bed, and I guess I got enough sleep. I woke up feeling really good. I mean, like half my age, good. Nothing was hurting. I was well rested. Grabbed something to eat, and I felt like I was 20 years old. So I thought, I'm going to go over and see my buddies that got that have the recording studio. I'm going to go hang out with them. It'll be cool. I used to go over there a lot. Then I kind of cut back on going because I was in a car wreck, but that kind of made me hurt a lot all the time, so I didn't get out much other than work. But that particular day, I felt good. Again, I felt half my age. It was wonderful. So I go in, I get dressed. I put my jeans on and my t-shirt. And I think, I could put my high tops on. I call them my magic shoes. Because when I put those on, I feel like I can jump up and touch the moon. I literally feel like I'm on top of the world when I put those on. I don't get it, but it's always been that way. No matter what pair. For, most of my life. When I wear high tops, that means I feel good inside. And I've got energy and I feel good. And it's almost like a boost of B12 to my soul putting them on. It even helps me more. And so I thought, if I'm going to feel like a teenager, I might as well dress like one. So I got my Converse high tops out, put them on, my black ones. And I went over to my neighbors. Well, my neighbors are like family to me. They really are. They're cool folks. The man the husband, is a sound engineer by trade, and he's quite famous. This man actually has done sound for bands that were the top on the charts through the 60s and 70s. I mean, he's actually played with some of these bands. He wrote some of the songs. He's famous. And he has a recording studio. Now, he was famous in Hollywood, in LA, in California, in the 60s and 70s. But he's still famous. But then was his heyday. But he's so cool. I didn't know all that about him till after I'd known him for a few years, but he's got an incredible story. Or several. But him and his wife and his sister-in-law are like family to me. We've been through a lot together. Been there for each other when we needed to be. And they're always in my corner if I need them. And it feels good to know people are like that. That you got somebody you can go over and take a shower if your pipes are busted, or do laundry if your septic is full, or, fill in the blank, whatever. And, I've been known to buy food and take it over there and say, hey, will you guys cook this up? And we'll have a big meal. Because my gas stove wasn't working. So they cooked. Well, we've done a lot together over the years. And again, they're like family and they're cool folks. So I go over there. They're happy to see me. I'm hanging out. There's people showing up, playing guitar and such. And then all of a sudden they say, okay, we're going to go over to what's-his-name's house, another neighbor that has a big music room, and we're going to jam tonight. You want to come with us? Well, usually when I was over there and they would leave to go jam, I would always say no. I would help them load the equipment and the cooler and the amps and everything and the guitars in the car, and we'd leave at the same time. I'd turn one direction, they'd go the other, and I'd catch them in another week or two or three. But that particular night, I was feeling good. And I was dressed comfortably. And when they asked me to go with them, I actually said yes. They were shocked. They were truly amazed. After years of me saying no, I said yes. And I told them my magic high tops are making me feel 20 years younger. They loved it. They thought it was funny. So I go with them. We go to another neighbor's house. The guys are already in there jamming. Women are outside on the back porch hanging out. So I hang out, meet the ladies. And then the two girls I went with said, hey, come with us. We'll show you where they're playing. We'll show you the music room. I said, cool. So I followed them. Walked through the house. Standing in the doorway. Was watching them play. And I kept hearing the snare vibrate. And I looked back behind the door, up against the wall on the left, and there's no drummer. There's a drum set, and the snare is loose and vibrating. I mean, it's hissing like a damn snake. It drove me up the wall. No one else seemed to hear it or pay attention to it. But I guess their ears weren't tuned to that kind of thing. For some reason, mine was. Don't know. But I heard it. It drove me bonkers. So as soon as they took a break, went out of the room, I went back there real quick, got down, found the snare, tightened it up, and just sit there and looked at the drums going, these are nice. And then all of a sudden, the guys come back. They all rush back in there. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. There's 7 or 8 men here drinking beer. Probably only one bathroom, maybe 2, but still, that's 7 or 8 men drinking beer. And they're back in just a few, like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm thinking, wait a minute, guys, let me get out of here before y'all start up. Because I was literally stuck behind the drums in the back of the room. And when the guys got back into position, they were in front of me. 3 of them were playing like bass or guitar. And I'm thinking, shit, I can't get out. I got to wait till their next break. Or stop the music. As soon as they got back in position, picked up their instruments, they took off, started playing again. And so I'm sitting there at the drums, on the drum set, on the stool, going, holy crap. I don't know any of this music. These aren't my drums. At least the snare wasn't hissing. There's good thing there. So I'm sitting here going, looking at the backs of 3 men, the side of one woman playing a banjo, I think, and then Harvey was playing mandolin, and then the other guitars were across the room. And I'm thinking, nobody sees me back here. I'm like, I feel invisible. This is weird. And of course, I didn't know the music. This is old school country and bluegrass. I don't know any of those songs. And I look up at the door. I see my girlfriends in the door. They're looking at me grinning. And I'm looking at them like, holy crap. Somebody help me. And you know what's weird? I look back at that and I think, I didn't even think about the dream that I'd had for 40 years. Because I was so stuck in the moment, the panic inside, I was screaming, get me the hell out of here. That I didn't think of anything but, when am I going to get out of there? So they play a couple of songs. Of course, I don't know them, so I can't play. And then, lo and behold, they start playing Orange Blossom Special. Well, you'd have to be in a coma all your life to not know that song. I mean, I've never played it before, but I know the beat, and I grew up hearing it. I mean, my parents on Saturdays always watched Hee Haw and Lawrence Welk Show and, oh geez, what were the other? Porter Wagner Show. All of those shows. Buck Owens. And there was always Orange Blossom Special being sung on one of those pretty much every weekend. At least once. Because again, that was the 70s. So I heard a few beats and was like, yeah, I know this one. I don't know it, but I know it. I can try. And so I started trying to keep beat with the snare and the bass. And one of the guitar players in front of me kind of glanced over his shoulder, and then he did a double take, like, wow, you know, who are you and where'd you come from? His eyes were real big. He was smiling, totally surprised. Didn't see me back there previously, didn't know that I was even there. But he was encouraging me, nodding, supporting me. Made me feel a little better, but then again, I probably had that look on my face like deer in the headlights. You know, I probably did. Because inside I was screaming. You know that painting, The Scream, where that guy is like got the black robe around his head and he's got his hands on either side of his face and he's like screaming. Well, it's pretty much what I was doing inside. But I was trying not to show it. But I played the song. Not well. I just barely kept beat, but I did it. The song was over. And he turned and nodded and smiled and said, thank you, that was good. And I thought, you don't lie well, but okay, thank you for being sweet. And then they played a few more. I didn't know those. And then they took another pee break, and I think I beat half of them out the door. And considered just keep walking. I thought once I get out that door, I might just walk on home. It's several miles, but I know the way. You know, I was like freaked out. I had an adrenaline rush like you can't imagine. Well, either that night later or a week or two later, I don't know, I ran into that guy, the one that encouraged me. And he asked me, you know, are you going to come join us more? And I said, oh, no, that was a fluke, but thanks. I said, I usually don't go anywhere with these guys. They're my neighbors. I'm always at their house, but I usually don't go anywhere. I work nights, I sleep days, and I usually keep to myself other than going to see them. And he said, oh, we'd love to have you. Sometimes our drummer isn't able to make it. He's a fireman, and he's on call a lot and being called out a lot, and so sometimes he's not able to play. And occasionally some of us sit in, but he said, anybody's welcome. He said, but we'd love to have you come back. And I said, thank you, but hon, I haven't played in like 40 years. And I played in high school, but I haven't played since then. He said, you did just fine. I said, thank you, but you don't lie well. But I do appreciate you being sweet and supportive. You don't know how much that helped me not panic. And he laughed and said, no, you really did okay. And he said, what's it going to take to get you to come back or to play? And I said, I need to get a drum set. I've always wanted one. And I need to get something in practice. because I really haven't played in 40 years. He said, I have an electronic drum set. I'll bring it over to your house and hook you up. And you can use it in practice anytime you want. I said, oh, thank you, but no. I don't like anyone else's equipment at my house. I don't want something to happen to it. He said, well, I can bring it to the recording studio then. You can come over here and do it. I said, oh, no. But thank you anyway. If it's ever going to happen, it's going to have to be, I'm going to have to get my own set. And I don't know if that'll ever happen, but oh well. But I appreciate it anyway. It was fun. He said, well, let me know if you change your mind. Well, that made me feel good, as it would anybody. I mean, I obviously, subconsciously felt inferior, felt like, unworthy to play for whatever reason, because, or I wouldn't have had that dream reoccurring over a period of 40 years. So obviously that was what that was about. So what he did made me feel better. And I thought, great. Maybe I should start looking to see if I can find some drums. So about every 6 months or so, I would get online and I'd look at Craigslist. I would look at Facebook Marketplace. I'd get on the website called shopgoodwill.com that actually, they sell a lot of musical instruments. Now, the shipping will kill you, but they sell a lot of stuff. But I thought, if I could, I know some people that do delivery driving, couriers across the country, because it's kind of my connection to that is the business I'm in. So I thought, maybe if I could buy a set, I could find a courier and get them to bring it, if it's not too far. If I could get it cheap enough. So I'm like, for several years, I'm looking for drums. The music store or the pawn shop in Denton closes. And they're selling their drums and such, they said, for cheap, but it didn't appear to be that cheap. But I still didn't give up hope, because having my own drum set was something I dreamed of having, literally since I was a teenager, 9th grade. That's a long damn time. I mean, think about it. My son was already grown at that point, and I still hadn't got my drums. So yeah, 40 years. And so every 6 months or so, I would look for drums, daydream a little bit, forget about it, and move on. One particular Friday night, something just said, look for the Ludwigs. So I just got that gut feeling. And so I started looking. First place I looked was Facebook Marketplace. Lo and behold, I found a set. And they were black. And they were either like 250 or 300. I can't remember. I mean, basically a steal. It was a full-size set. And I was like, this can't be right. So I read more and more about them and looked up the specs online, and then kept going back to the ad and looking, enlarging the pictures and looking. And I thought, I got to get these. So I sent him all kinds of messages, emails, texts, and instant message through Facebook. I said, I want the drums. If they are an adult size, I want your drums. I get off at 6 a.m., I can come get them. I'll just need to go home, change clothes, empty the bed of my pickup, wrap or get blankets and come to you. Hit the bank first. Well, I finally get the okay from him to come. I do everything I gotta do to make room in my living room for them and in my truck. And I hit the bank, and I start that way. My check engine light comes on. I start having car trouble. And I'm like, really? You got to be kidding me. Finally, the drum set I've always dreamed of is literally 20 miles away for a third of the price that I expected. And I'm having car trouble. I called my son. And I said, are you awake? And he said, I am now. Wow, what's up? I said, I'm having car trouble. I don't know what it is. My check engine light came on. It's not running good. I don't know what's going on. But I'm on my way to Corinth. And I've got to go. I just hit the bank. I got to go pick up some drums. He said, what? I said, a drum set. The drum set that I've always wanted since 9th grade. The black Ludwigs. I want them. And they're cheap. And I'm going to get them. If my truck breaks down on the way, please come get me. And the blankets. Take me to get the drums. Take me home with the drums. And then we'll come back and get my truck. Well, he thought that was funny. But he said, oh, he promised me he would help me. He said, okay, Mom, I'll do it. I said, cool. I said, stand by. Wish me luck. Say a prayer. This is a lifelong dream. So I get there. I get the drums. I limp my truck home. I take the back roads, less traffic, where I could go slower. I'm saying a prayer the whole way. I get the drums home. I unpack them. I set them up. And while I'm setting them up, I've got YouTube playing. I got Phil Collins concerts going back to back on loop. If that's not motivation and inspiration, I don't know what is. But I got that playing. Finally get them put together, and I play with Phil Collins.
A message has been received.
Lovely. So I finally get that together, and I play with Phil Collins. And then I go to bed and sleep the best I've ever slept. And guess what? I've not had that dream. Not had it. Hope I don't. I think I kicked the curse. And I know I feel better about myself after getting the drums. I know I felt better about myself after playing Orange Blossom Special with the guys jamming. And I really do think, because I was physically feeling good that Saturday night, and I put the high tops on, and I just felt rejuvenated, that gave me the added oomph that I needed. That was my magic, my mojo. So, yeah, my high tops, my magic shoes helped me get my drums. And I broke the curse. Do you have a curse or a dream that's like a curse that you would like to kick? Tell me about it. Maybe we can figure out a way to help you. Because I think it worked for me. Let's hope so. Thanks for listening. I hope you were amused and entertained. Take care. Bye.